Hi everyone! Today I'm going to talk about humid hides for your baby snakes. When someone's getting a new snake, I always recommend getting a baby. That way it gets to know you as its keeper from a very young age. And most of the time you get a snake from a breeder or a pet store, it's going to be a baby anyway. For larger babies like boas and pythons, I start them off on bioactive substrate that holds humidity well and really don't need to use a humid hide with them. But for baby colubrid snakes, I like to use paper towel or aspen shavings as substrate until they've had some time to grow a bit. But paper towel and aspen shavings, combined with any type of heat source, creates a very dry environment, and it's not really a substrate that you can mist down. So any snake kept on that type of substrate needs a humid hide to help them have healthy sheds. That's basically an additional hide that's filled with damp moss to create a humid retreat for your snake. This is a recent shed from this same snake that I'm holding. It's a very healthy shed, and you can see that everything came off in one piece from the tip of the nose to the tip of its tail. And this entire litter has been spending time in their humid hides and are all having very good sheds. And I think that's in part because I've found a better way to provide them with a humid hide. Now, there are plenty of humid hides out there that you can buy, but like most reptile supplies, they're not cheap. Here are three very reputable brands, and their humid hides range from $15 to $45 depending on the size. I love the Exoterra water bowls. They last forever, and they look nice in the enclosures. And the Exoterra humid hide is made to match them, so they look nice as well. If I was going to keep a snake in aspen bedding permanently, I'd go ahead and spend the money on it. But I eventually switched the older babies and juveniles into bioactive setups anyway, and at that point, I don't need a humid hide. That's just one of the things I love about bioactive setups. Here you can see my California king snake, Rex, finishing off a perfect shed. When it's time for him to shed, I just overflow the water bowl a bit and mist the substrate down some, and the whole enclosure becomes a humid hide. If you search humid hide on YouTube, you'll see an overabundance of videos showing you how to make a humid hide out of a deli cup like this one. You basically cut a hole in the side or the top of the deli cup and fill it with damp sphagnum moss. And for quite some time, that's been the way I've done it. Actually, here's a shot of my Rex when he was just 8 weeks old. And I made his humid hide from a plastic container that mealworms came in. But I've never really liked these. They've always gotten the job done, but they're kind of ugly, and I don't like the way the cut plastic has such a sharp edge to it. So I thought hard about it, and I think I've found a better DIY humid hide that's just as inexpensive, works better, and is even easier to put together. Instead of a deli cup, I've used a ball jar. These are the canning jars you use to make jelly and jam and that sort of thing. They're inexpensive and easy to find at most grocery stores, and you can also get them in different sizes. I believe these ones I'm using are 12 ounces. The other thing I've done differently is I'm using live moss instead of dried sphagnum moss. The sphagnum moss dries out so quickly that I'm even starting to question using it in my bioactive substrate. I love moss, and in the spring and summertime, I always make some trips to the forest to forage for moss. I have my special secret spots where I find some of the most incredible moss, and I always make sure to have a good-sized bag of it to use in the winter when I might need it. If live moss isn't available to you, sphagnum moss will work, but I've found that the live moss holds a lot more humidity and doesn't dry up as nearly as fast as the sphagnum moss does. I've rinsed and soaked this moss in distilled water, and just sitting here putting it in these jars, it smells beautiful like the forest floor after a nice rain shower. I put enough moss in the jars so that the snakes can burrow into it and tunnel around in it. All you need is for it to be damp, but not soaking wet. I just keep my eye on it, and when they start to feel dry, I give them a little bit of mist to rehydrate them. And about every 2 weeks or so, I clean the jars and put in some fresh moss like I'm doing today. And as you can see, the snakes go right to them. These small jars work great for babies and would be perfect for any baby colubrid snake, like a corn snake or milk snake, or in this case, garter snakes. And although I've not used them for older or bigger snakes, I'm sure a quart or gallon-sized jar would work just the same for them. One thing you should know is that if you keep your snake on a dry substrate, for the health of your snake and its ability to shed its skin properly, a humid hide should not be looked at as optional. But aside from the health benefits of helping your snake shed its skin, it also gives them some additional enrichment in their enclosure. I think these are a lot nicer to look at than the deli cups, don't you? Plus, I really like that I can see into them more easily and know when a snake is using them without having to take the whole thing apart. The snakes seem to really like them, and they seem to be doing a better job than the deli cups, so for me, it's a win-win. If you have a baby snake, give this a try, and if you do, I'd enjoy hearing what you think of it, so just leave me a comment below. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video.